Welcome to TalkNorth.com. Thanks to our longtime producer, Brandon Morton. Please download before you listen. If you'd like to advertise with us, you can reach us at talknorthpodcast@gmail.com. And please follow us on Twitter at TalkNorthPod. Two promo codes to be aware of. Bitesquad.com. Use the promo code TalkNorth to get your first delivery free. And go to SodaStick.com, the great local apparel company. Use the promo code YouBetcha to get free shipping on any sized order. Welcome to a special panic edition of the Roy Smalley's Chin Music Podcast, part of the TalkNorth.com podcast network. Before we get to all the meaty baseball stuff, Roy, I'm in San Francisco. You were a baseball player. You traveled to the Bay Area a lot. Did you have a favorite thing or a restaurant in the Bay Area?
For so much of my career, we stayed, we were playing Oakland when we went out there, and we stayed over in Oakland, and it wasn't till a little bit later that we started that we were in San Francisco at all. So I didn't really get to partake of much San Francisco. So I don't really have a recommendation for you, because it's been quite a while since I've been back there.
I love San Francisco. I love the Bay Area, and I just have a couple of quick memories. One was the Twins getting to the playoffs in 2002. Finally, after that long drought, playing a very good Oakland team, starting the series out here in Oakland, and the first game, it's like they got lost on the BART. They showed up late, and then they played the worst first inning I've ever seen, dropping pop-ups all over the place before they rallied and won the game. And the other one was being out here for the series. I think it was 2006 when the Twins were playing Oakland, and myself, Patrick, Royce, Lavelle, Neal, and Joe Christensen decided to wander around from our hotel to find a good restaurant. And Patrick and Lavelle didn't quite know that there's a hilly city. We almost lost them both. I really thought I'd be doing CPR on both of them about 3 blocks from the hotel. All right.
Well, with all the great restaurants and stuff that are out there, I did a series out there a couple of years ago, and the highlight for me that particular time was that we found Dick Bremer and I found an In-N-Out burger down in the Embarcadero area. So it didn't get any better than that.
Yeah, and random thought also reminds me of the time that Dick Bremer was walking by, I think Steinbach or somebody in Seattle, and Steinbach goes to Bremer, "Hey, is there any place to get coffee around here?" And Bremer started answering him seriously before he realized, yeah, every second storefront is a coffee shop in Seattle. All right, enough random thoughts. Let's get to the
I've got one other. I just happen to think. Excuse me. I just happen to think. I've got one other Oakland story that you might find kind of interesting. This is 1986, and we're out there to play the A's, and we've been hearing about this guy named Jose Canseco. And I went out early to the ballpark to watch them hit, the A's hit, and before the game. And so this big specimen of a body steps in the batter's box, and he started down the right field line, and he hit a home run by the right field foul pole. And then he hit a home run a little to straightaway right, and then he hit a home run to right center, and then he hit a home run to center field, and then he hit a home run to left center, and then he hit about 9 miles back to straightaway left field, and he just walked out of the cage and said, "Okay, I'm ready." And I'm going, who is this guy? So, I mean, it's like 9 consecutive home runs that he's just sprayed the bleachers all over the ballpark. Little did we know at that point in time, or at least we didn't know, but maybe suspected that it was all cheating. But it was pretty impressive.
It was also interesting to have Tony La Russa be kind of such a moralist in so many ways in baseball, and then he had a team just filled with steroid users. Tony's a great manager, but it was hard. Sometimes it was hard getting lectured by a guy whose teams were very obviously using a little bit of extra juice.
Yep.
Anyway, let's get on to Twins panic. We're doing the show early Friday afternoon after the Twins lost the opening opening game of the Cleveland series. We're going to do kind of a show that should stand up regardless of what happens tonight. So if you want to listen to it this weekend, it's not all going to be just about the first game or the second game matchup or anything like that. And we have some good Twitter questions on these topics. But Roy, let's start with this. For all the worry about the bullpen, all the consternation about adding bullpen help at the trading deadline, right now the Twins just are not getting good starting pitching. And it started on Tuesday with Jose Barrios, which I think was a little surprising.
Yeah, it really was. I expected Barrios to pitch a real good ball game on Tuesday, and it didn't happen. And frankly, I'm concerned about him, and here's why. And this is my own personal theory, and it is that and a couple of bucks will buy you a cup of coffee somewhere in Seattle. But here's what I've noticed. Most of the time, his go-to fastball is the two-seam fastball, and it's 91, 92 miles an hour. He loves his curveball, and he's liking his changeup, which is great. He's got one of the better curveballs in the game, and his changeup is good too, which is a changeup off the fastball. The problem is it's not a changeup off the two-seamer, and he throws so many strikes. And two-seamers, generally speaking, sinkers, moving, running fastballs are good when they're not in the strike zone. They're not so good in the strike zone unless it's absolutely knee-high and then breaking down below that level at contact or attempted contact. And so in my view, his four-seam fastball is 94, sometimes 95. And that's the speed I think you have to make hitters respect so that the changeup works and so that the curveball works more. And you see really effective pitchers, and they dominate with. Their dominant pitch is a fastball. By dominant, I mean that's what they throw most of the time, and they understand that they've got to get hitters on the fastest speed that you have. And what I'm noticing, what occurs to me, and I don't know if I'm right about this, but what it looks to me like Jose Barrios would almost rather do anything but throw a fastball for a strike. And I don't believe you can pitch that way, especially not with his kind of stuff. You have to throw it hard. You have to throw it inside. You have to get hitters' attention with, your top speed. And I know that his feeling is, when I throw a fastball, I want to get a ground ball. But I don't think he's that kind of pitcher. I think he's much more of a strikeout pitcher, and the strikeouts are going to come with fastball impressiveness, changeups off the fastball, and then that wipeout curve. And just more and more, it looks like he's afraid to throw the fastball. It doesn't really want to throw the fastball, just trying to set things up until he gets a 2-strike count and throw the breaking ball, which is a great strategy if you can get to 2 strikes, but he's just not getting there enough. And I think the hitters are just way too comfortable against him. Hitters shouldn't stand in and take the swings they have against the stuff that he has. And I think he's got to throw it hard. He's got to throw, some angry fastballs, inside. He can go back on the outside corner with a 4-seam fastball. For him with his stuff, I wish he would get to the 94, 95 speed and not the 91 or 92 trying to sink the ball.
This by the way, thank you to our sponsors, Berry Coffee, berrycoffee.com, Tony Hoaglund, Hoaglund, your State Farm agent who works out of Champlin, and bitesquad.com. This reminds me of your conversation with Frank Viola, Game 7 of 1987.
Yeah, it is a little bit. And for people that, have not heard that story before, and Frank tells it a lot, to his credit. I mean, nice of him to give me credit for this, but I watched him in Game 7 give up 2 early runs to the Cardinals, and after he did, he came in. He was just fuming. He went back in the runway up to the clubhouse and was throwing things around and yelling at himself. And I kind of let him calm down, and then I walked back there. It was just Frank and me. He was sitting on the stairs, and I sat down next to him, and I said, "Frank, what's the problem?" And he looked at me like I was nuts, and he said, "What do you mean, what's the problem? I just gave up 2 runs. They're hitting me." And I said, "Right, what are they hitting?" He said, "My changeup." And I said, "Right, these Cardinal hitters are really good hitters, and they've seen you before, and they know how good your changeup is, and they're sitting on it. And they will sit on it until you prove to them that you can get them out with fastballs." I said, "The changeup is a change of pace. You have to establish some pace here with your fastball." I said, "None of my business, except that I want you to pitch well. I want us to win. And from a hitter standpoint, that's what I think, for whatever it's worth." And as Frank tells the story, he went out and pitched the rest of the game and never threw his changeup again. Threw all fastballs, shut him out the rest of the way until the 9th when Reardon closed it out. And it was with 100% fastballs that Cardinals hitters never readjusted. They just couldn't believe that he wasn't going to throw that changeup. And so it is something somewhat like that. If you haven't made hitters be impressed, aware of your fastball, the other stuff doesn't have near the effectiveness.
And we're talking here on Thursday night. Kyle Gibson went out there, and I'll let you give the expert analysis. To me, just was very cautious, nibbled, fell behind, wouldn't come in with strikes, then got in trouble after he fell behind. Once again, it's the easiest thing to say. It obviously isn't as easy to accomplish as it is to talk about it, but he just wasn't aggressive enough with his fastball early in the count, to my eyes.
Yeah, I think that's right. And here's the problem. I mean, it is easy for us to criticize pitchers, because here's the conundrum, right? You have to throw strike one. Oh, but don't throw it in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you have to throw fastballs early and for strikes, but you can't. If you throw it down the middle, they're going to hit it. And so, in Kyle's defense and every pitcher's defense, I mean, they're trying to throw the ball on the corner somewhere, outside, other than middle. But if they're not spot on, then they're gonna get to 2-0 and 3-1 counts on big league hitters, and that's just not going to work. You're going to be toast at that point. And so my philosophy is, yes, you try to throw for the corners the best you can, but throw strike one. If they hit it, they hit it. Your stuff is your stuff. You might as well find out early. You might as well establish your fastball. I mean, and find out early, how they're going to do against you, rather than, 2-0 and 3-1. How they're going to do. I mean, it makes everybody better hitters. So you might as well throw it over early in the count. And when Kyle's good, it's always because he doesn't pitch a whole lot different. It's just he's not just off the plate, inside and outside. He's on the corners getting called strikes, and he like anybody else doesn't want to pitch in the middle of the plate. But you have to figure out a way to get ahead of hitters and establish fastballs without throwing the ball belt high down the middle all the time.
Yeah, it's like Eddie Guardado always said. He said, either I'm going to eat you, you're going to get me. We might as well find out right away.
We might as well find out early, because your stuff doesn't get any better. Trust me, your stuff doesn't get better 2-0 and 3-1.
Right, exactly. Thanks to Berry Coffee, berrycoffee.com. I always say that since I got my Berry Coffee machine, and since I started drinking the Bull Run blend at home, both the French roast and the house blend at home, I just haven't been able to find any coffee like that anywhere I go. And I'm in San Francisco now. I have found a couple of really cool little places. One's a little Brazilian breakfast place. Another was a local, just small batch brewer. You know what? Their coffee is right up there with Berry Coffee, but of course it costs about $6 a cup, and you have to come to San Francisco to get it. I would recommend, if you want that kind of coffee at home, you go to Berry Coffee. You get one of their machines, you get their blends, and drink it at home. I know, Roy, you have the same experiences.
Absolutely. I just had mine this morning, as a matter of fact. My Bull Run blend ground fresh into my and brewed into my cup. And I feel the same way you do. It's a great way to start the day.
And they also, by the way, we recommend the Berry whole bean Bull Run blend, but it's berry coffee, so they have pretty much anything you could want. They have Starbucks whole bean, they have City Kid Java whole bean, Peace Coffee whole